Great. Is anybody going to be streaming besides us? Anybody streaming? Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
I don't know for streaming.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you opening it up? Come on up.
Yeah, they're not gonna be streaming.
Let's get our folks behind us.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Come on up.
You guys want to come on and stand around?
You got to balance it out.
Yeah, can't have too much weight on the side.
I need one more, y'all. Everybody's mics all good? Yeah? All right. Perfect. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining us here today. I'm Sydney Edwards. I'm one of our public information officers here at the Aurora Police Department. And today we invite you to talk about a 2023 year in review. Now, in a moment, Police Chief Art Acevedo will join us and we'll go over some crime stats over the year, some accomplishments our department made, along with some policy changes, and a look into 2024. We'll also give about 10 minutes at the end for some questions, and the chief will also give individual Spanish interviews if necessary at the end. Chief.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you all for being here on this nice, warm winter day here in Colorado. But we know that this snow is actually gold. That is called Colorado gold. And ski season is wide open. So remember, if you're listening from out of state, the ski lifts are open, the hot chocolate's on, and for the end of the night, we have bourbon at the plenty of places that you go to ski. So thanks for being here. I'm really excited to really have this press conference because what we do every year in law enforcement is we try to report back. What kind of year do we have? I got here on December 5th, 2022. And when you see behind us is our executive team. After over a year, did a lot of work, talking to a lot of folks, making a lot of observations. And I think that what we're about to talk about speaks to the collective excellence of the leadership that you see behind us, other leaders that aren't here throughout the department, but most importantly, in terms of the Aurora Police Department, speaks about the commitment of the men and women that go out each and every day, in the rain, in the snow, in the heat, in the cold, in the holidays, every day of the year, to do their very best to keep this community safe. And that's the men and women of the Aurora Police Department. I could not be prouder as the chief in this department for a little over a year now, with the help of our deputy chief, Chief Heather Morris, who's been here now for 9 months, most of the ride here, and this command staff behind us, including our internal affairs commander, who I guess he wants to be at the end, he's internal affairs, our assistant chief from patrol. It's just a collective effort, and so we want to recognize, celebrate, report back. And then this guy at the end, Pete Schulte, who is the chief of the public safety division in the city attorney's office, and was instrumental, quite frankly, him and Dan Oates, to get me to come here a little over a year ago, and is a great colleague. First and foremost, I want to thank our men and women, our command staff, but also our partners. No department can do it by itself. I want to thank our mayor and council, because what we're going to talk about today is a city and a department that's on the move, and it's on the right move. It's going in the right direction, and we should be proud of that. Our mayor and council have been very supportive in terms of having the backs of the men and women in blue here in the Aurora Police Department, supportive in terms of the ongoing efforts to make our department second to none in terms of our practices, our policies, our procedures, in terms of our relationship with the community that we serve. This very robust, diverse, dynamic community that we serve. And we couldn't do it without the support of our city council, and we couldn't do it with the support of our manager, Jason Batchelor, who's, in my estimation, one of the best bosses, not the best boss I've ever had. We are all rowing in the same direction. And I think when we talk about rowing as a community, as a city, family, it includes the community that we serve. We believe that as a result of our partnership with the Monitor and our partnership with other agencies and our partnership with this community, we're starting to achieve great results. So let me start by talking real quickly about a couple of things I think are really important. Number one, vehicle theft. Vehicle theft is a national phenomenon. It's an issue across the nation. And in Colorado, we know that we lead the nation in per capita in vehicle theft. There's an exception to that, I think, that we should talk about, and that's the city of Aurora. Last year, I want to let this community know that we reduced incidents of auto theft by 23.5%. We had 5,190 vehicles stolen in our city compared to 6,780 vehicles stolen in 2022. And I believe that a big part of that success is the fact that the city of Aurora, thanks to our city council, is building an island of accountability. It's building an oasis of accountability. They passed an ordinance that gave teeth to vehicle theft. Let's be honest, the criminal element sometimes, they will make an assessment in terms of risk versus gain. And I think that 23.5% reduction, which is hundreds of cars, hundreds of families that did not lose their vehicles, is a result of the fact that you know that in Aurora, you're probably going to go to jail. You're not going to get a free pass go, because Aurora is not monopoly. Aurora is a city that's serious about the safety of our community. And so again, my hat's off to our mayor and council. We have reduced crime across the board. Murders have gone from 43 in 2022 down to 38, which is an 11.6% reduction in homicides. Now, that's just way too many for those 38 families that lost a loved one. That is nothing we can say here today is going to be indicative of success. But when you think about the families that didn't lose a loved one because of the, I think, collective effort of everyone that I've mentioned, that's, again, a win and in the right direction. Sexual assaults are down. Aggravated assaults are down. Robbery is down. And the total violent crime is down 14.5%. Let's talk very quickly about property crime. Burglary is down 4%. Motor vehicle theft, again, 23.5%. Larceny, all larceny is down 3.1%. And property crimes are down, when you look at all of them, 11.6%. So again, it is a double-digit, hundreds of cases fewer last year compared to 22. And when you combine violent and property crime, we're down 12.1%. There's only one area where we experience an increase in crime, and that is shoplifting, which is up 36.8%. But here's the good news. I talked about it today in public safety. We passed an ordinance, again, our mayor and council, and I think it was our chairwoman of the Public Safety Committee that sponsored this ordinance, where the threshold was $300. And if you are caught committing shoplifting offense in our city at the tune of $300 or more, you're going to go and get some jail time. And I think you're going to see that tighten up a little bit more. If you look across the country, I think consumers are very upset when you see thieves going into retail establishments, brazen thefts, walking out the door with merchandise, and quite honestly, a lot of retailers just let them go because they know that they're not going to get any type of prosecution in many instances. In our city, I believe the fact that we passed that ordinance and that now, and we're working very closely with our retailers, encouraging them to prosecute, I believe because they know there's some teeth in the city of Aurora and there will be consequences, an oasis of consequences, an island of consequences. When you don't do the right thing and when you try to victimize our community, there'll be consequences. I really believe that that is probably part of what is leading additional reports. We know that in this country that a lot of crime goes unreported for a lot of reasons. In our city, we're trying to take away the reason that we're not going to report it. We're not going to get the chance of getting in some kind of altercation because nothing's going to happen, because we do have consequences, and that's something to celebrate. I also want to talk about our coordinated response of our proactive units. You know, our staffing is down, but our recruitment is up. We're very proud of that. But despite the staffing being down, proactive police work is going up in the city. Our frontline proactive units, DART, gangs, GRIT, GIU, which is the Gang Investigations Unit, Our SWAT team, which is probably one of the hardest working SWAT teams I've ever been associated with, they're going out almost daily, conducting operations, and I want to thank our previous lieutenant that was over SWAT, and our previous commander that was over SWAT. They've got a culture. It's not just let's eat, run, train, work out, and wait for a call out. They're actually out doing a lot of, they're not a firefighter version. No, I don't know, I'm kidding. No firefighters in here, sorry. They actually go out and work every day, and I think we're proud of that. We have our regional, Raven Regional Anti-Violent Enforcement Network, which is, you all know, have been working some tremendous cases with our partners at the state, federal, local, and county level that are having a tremendous impact in our community, in our region. One of the cases involved a network that led to 36 members of varying criminal street gangs was arrested. You guys remember that a few months ago? 350 counts of violent crime, and all linked to 3 separate conspiracy-related investigations. And so we want to thank our partners. Again, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the DA's office, just it's all hands on deck, regionally rowing in the same direction. We've really increased our community engagement with over 200 events to build that trust. We've really come together with our first ever Faith Leaders Academy, where leaders of our faith community came and were trained and got to see how we train our people to do things, why they do things certain ways. That's helping us build trust. And with that increased trust, I think you have more people coming forward, reporting crime, standing up for their neighbors and their witnesses to crime, and that's a win. We put together a 2-year strategic plan in terms of community engagement, and we've really focused on focused engagement opportunities. Another area where I think is really important for us that has really made a difference, and then, like I said, it's important for the community to know, I don't think they know how much stuff our department has been doing, is the coordinated efforts. The public safety shoot review that we now started this past year. As a matter of fact, Chief Mark Hildebrand's not here because he's in headquarters right now with partners from around the region at every level of government talking about our shootings that we've had in our city every week. Every week we're having that. And we're connecting dots. See, the American policing model is probably one of the least efficient in the free world because we have 18,000 police departments with 800,000 police officers with 18,000 sets of data, right, of pieces of the puzzle in terms of solving crime, but unfortunately we don't talk enough with each other. And because of our new processes, that I want to really thank Chief Susan Mannheimer, who's our coordinator for the Public Safety Partnership Program funded by the Bureau of Justice Assistance. She and the team of folks from the Bureau of Justice Assistance, led by Director Carlton Moore, who's, I think, a great advocate at the federal level for us, have provided us the funding, the technical assistance, and really the roadmap to do things differently, where it's more of a collaborative effort across our region, and we're starting to see those results. And now it's a matter of sustainability, right? We've got to sustain these models. We're proud of them, and without them, we couldn't be seeing this, actually 2 years in a row now, of reducing crime. Process improvements, obviously, thanks to our, again, consent decree that a lot of people see as a black mark. I see it as a tremendous opportunity out of tragedy. Responsible organizations look for opportunities. How can we do things differently? How can we do things better? And we are a learning organization here, and that consent decree has been a blessing for us to be able to change our practices, our procedures, our training, our expectations of each other, our expectations of the way we treat the public and the way we approach the public, and it's something we're very proud of. We created the Aurora Save, again, thanks to the Public Safety Partnership, and Aurora Save is really a group of violence intervention that you all know about, so I'm not going to give you all the details. But Aurora Save, we're now starting to get calls. We just got a call from Atlanta. Cities now want to come here to see, hey, Aurora, you've had 2 years in a row now. You're understaffed. What are you doing differently? And now they're starting to come here, and that's something we're really proud of. I can give you stats, but I'm not going to bore you with those right now. The other area in terms of accountability, we've created a culture of accountability. We want to hold ourselves accountable. We want to be proactive. We want to be critically reviewing our uses of force. We have a process that's called the FRB, the Force Review Board, that we hold every week, where we look at our uses of force. That a lot of these folks behind me have actually been on that committee. In the last year, we took that program, and I think that we've become even more critical in terms of the way that we look at issues. And just yesterday, the police monitor was in our latest FRB, and the Department of Homeland Security actually had 2 executives from the Inspector General's office in Washington, D.C., the IG, and if you can think what's going on with the border, and there's a lot of controversy about how we use force out there on the border and everything else, DHS has been traveling the country from the Inspector General's office looking at these accountability processes. And I can't tell you how proud I am of our men and women that the feedback, I got this directly from Jeff Schlanger, the monitor, that they provided was that they have been to federal agencies in the process to review, to witness, state agencies, they've been all over the country, and nothing has come close to the process that we have developed here in the city of Aurora. The scrutiny, the thoughtful deliberation, right? The accountability, the pursuit of better, the pursuit of how we can do things better even when we do them right. Just because we do them right doesn't mean we can't do them better. The sense of pride yesterday that I think I had in our city manager when the police monitor saying it's incredible that the feedback that we got, and quite honestly, I think what you're starting to see, we're starting to get phone calls about that accountability program. This upcoming month, we're going to see our transparency portal go live. Our goal ultimately is to put everything, data belongs to the public. We are a public service agency. It will be going live here in the next few weeks. Everything we want to put on there won't be on there immediately because we've got to obviously have the technical support, but we want to lead the state, if not the nation, in accountability and transparency and build a portal where we want to put it on there. Everything, again, so our community knows what's going on. Data truly belongs to the community. We just are about to end year 2 of our consent decree process. And again, in talking to the monitor, I think the first year was really rough for us, but we really got our legs underneath us this last year, and the progress has been just pretty amazing. How much has been done? Because think about it, we're not big, and we're small, but we're mighty, right? We've got a mighty engine here. We're like Thomas the Engine here as a police department, that all these responsibilities, all these things have been put on our plate when it comes to the consent decree, the training, the retraining, the policy, the new policies, the change in policies, the modification of policies. All these things came with no additional people to do it, right? Not much. And so we didn't get to just put everything aside and not fight crime. Our men and women did both. They reduced crime, they become more proactive in terms of crime fighting, and the results are that we are well on our way to going into the monitoring phase for 3 years, and then at the end of those 3 years, I'm confident that if we continue to have the support of the mayor and council, if we continue to have the support of the city manager, if we continue to have the financial support of our political leadership, and we have continuity of leadership with the team you see behind me that are all rowing in the same direction, that are not out for themselves, not out to undermine the changes that are going on. Everyone you see behind me is in their position because after 9 months with the chief, I already know about her in reform because she helped me reform the Houston Police Department. The leaders you see here, some that are not here tonight, are been selected for their leadership positions, not because I like them, not because we're friends. Half of them probably don't even like me anyway, but because they're willing to do the work, and they're focused on the mission, and they're committed to this pursuit of excellence, to accountability, to crime fighting, and to relational policing, which means we treat people like they're our family when we're out there. And the key to continuing this momentum is this leadership, is keeping our leadership team together, keep them going in the right direction, because we all know there was a lot of drama with the last permanent chief we had in this city, and part of that was by people that were undermining her. Whether she got it right or wrong, none of us are perfect, but I am confident in the integrity, the commitment, the intellect, and the policing skills, and the community policing skills of the leaders you see behind us and others that aren't in the room today. And so I want to close, before I turn it over for questioning, with telling the community of Aurora that the Aurora Police Department is on the move, the Aurora Police Department is committed, and the Aurora Police Department's doors are open to the victims of crime, to the witnesses of crime, and to those that want to make a difference by joining a police department that is well on its way to regaining its stature, its reputation, and its national excellence and recognition that we remember we had back after the Aurora Theater massacre here. So with that, again, thanks for being here. I will take questions, and for the two Spanish media, do you guys want to just do it on the side, or that way I can give you more attention and it won't be so all over the place? And we'll do it up here, okay? You can do like this press conference like right here. Okay, questions?
Chief, you mentioned in the
Excuse me, what's your name and what station are you from?
Fox 31.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. You mentioned that the number of vehicle thefts has dropped dramatically, and that the new law enforcement measures that are taken to prosecute car thieves. What else has the police department done? Are there any special measures or teams that you put in place to try and catch car thieves?
Look, we have, first of all, remember, we have our DART team that's out there. We have all our crime-fighting frontline teams out there that are actually going out and putting in the work. You have to be intentional. You know, there's always a debate, patrol versus specialized units. Look, every one of our units, whether it's patrol or frontline crime-fighting units, we are short across the board. What we're not short of is a commitment. It's commitment to keeping this community safe. What we lack in terms of numbers, we make up with the excellence and the commitment of the vast majority of men and women. So it's all hands on deck. We are almost done with our pursuit policy that I've been talking about forever. We've got one last point that we are going to discuss, that we are discussing with the monitor, and we're going to get a little bit more aggressive on pursuits. Actually, we already have to an extent.
Can you be more specific about that? What do you want to do with pursuits?
Well, we're not going to let people just opt out. We're not just going to just shut it down right off the bat. Listen, we have created a culture in this country where people think that they just, you know, they watch the Fast and the Furious and all this other. I was going to say, American Made's a great theatrical movie. Fast and the Furious, not so much. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. I saw it Tuesday. But we're going to start not just shutting it down, and that is coming to an area near you. Oh, one other thing that I talked about that we're going to roll out, Chief, when? This week?
Yep, as soon as you.
I've already put out tape. Our hot shot lights and sirens protocol to calls is finally here. We'll probably roll it out hopefully before the end of the week. I just put a message to our folks. You will see our police officers responding to crimes in progress, certain other types of calls, crashes with lanes blocked right on a freeway. Because you know that you could have a fender bender or a non-injury crash, and we know that a lot of people get killed in secondary collisions. You're all aware of that. So we will start our hot shot protocol where we will require officers to respond with lights and sirens. Now, respond with lights and sirens doesn't mean that you don't use due caution, right? Doesn't mean that you don't clear intersections. Doesn't mean that you go 120 in the 30-mile-per-hour zone, right? But it does mean that you have a sense of urgency. I really believe, as a 37-year peace officer, that the safest mode of response to a call is, when done appropriately, is lights and sirens. I know for a fact, having done this in other cities, that when the hot shot protocol is instituted it will do several things for this community and for this department. Number one, it's going to increase visibility of the department. I mean, how often do you see the fire department going lights and sirens to their calls? I mean, they go to most of their calls with lights and sirens. When the criminal element hear those sirens, guess what's going to happen? They're going to know the police is around, and it's going to disrupt crime. I can't tell you how many times over the years in Austin and in Houston, where we had the hotshot protocols, that we'd be going to a robbery in the 300 block of a street. Unbeknownst to us, there was another robbery that had just started going on in the 200 block of a street, and that second robbery we weren't aware of gets disrupted, and the bad guy takes off without finishing the robbery because they heard what? The siren. So it disrupts violent crimes. It increased visibility. And the most important thing also is it's going to reduce response times because you can get there much more efficiently. So to the public, please, when you hear the sirens and you see the lights, please yield the right of way. Make sense to y'all? Please yield the right of way. It's a mutual responsibility and a duty for us to be safe out there. Okay, any other questions?
Chief Shelley Bradbury with the Denver Post. Looking back at pre-pandemic levels, in 2019, crime was lower in 8 out of these 10 categories
Yeah.
than it was last year. So do you think it's possible for Aurora to get back to pre-pandemic crime levels? And
Yeah.
if so, how are you going to do it?
I absolutely do think it's not only possible to get to pre-pandemic, I think it's possible to actually beat pre-pandemic. But it is a process, right? What happened with that pandemic, our country the world is upside down right now. If you don't believe it, just go look at social media. Just look at what people say, do, the way we talk about each other. It's going to take work. It's going to take work, and it's going to take sustainability. So while we're not at pre-pandemic levels yet, I believe as we continue to increase our recruitment numbers, as we continue to put out the information regarding our new work schedule that starts next month, where our officers are going to get many more wellness days and even more training, our recruitment numbers are going to get that much better, and I anticipate our retention numbers are going to get better as well. So it's got to be sustained. Having said that, it may not be pre-pandemic, but I'll tell you what, it's going in the right direction. I think that's important, and we need to keep it going in that right direction. What else?
Congratulations in your gesture on reducing the crime in the last 2 years, and I want to thank you all for what you are doing. Really appreciate your service.
Thank you.
And my question is going to be in English, but I want for you to
In Spanish?
In Spanish.
Sure.
So, with quite significant numbers of officers involved in shootings, including the controversial case of Jordan Richardson last year, do you have in mind something to modify in the training for the police officer in order for the lives of the people to be more respected?
Well, first of all, I think they say we're not respecting the lives of people. It's not a matter of respect. It's a matter of whether it's justified or not. You know, Jordell Richardson's shooting was a tremendous, tremendous tragedy. But we know that our officer's response was legal and morally just. That's a fact. I mean, you can't change that. The tragedy for me is that we have in this country still a big problem with juvenile violence. And this region is probably one of the worst parts in that. The tragedy for me is that despite that problem with juvenile violence, to this day I don't hear an outcry saying, how did 6 kids end up in a stolen car and thought it was a good idea to mask up, go into a place and commit an armed robbery? That's the tragedy. And that's why we're going to be focusing very diligently in 2024 on our youth programs. We have our summit that's planned. I think we'll have it in February. Working with the school districts, working with the business community. We need to get kids jobs this summer. But you forgot one thing. I think 2 years ago we had 13 officer-involved shootings. Last year we had 2. I call that progress. I think our officers, but again, it's not about the numbers. I mean, if we had 20 this year, it's not about the numbers, it's about whether they're justified or not. If an officer gets shot at, we can't say, well, shoot, we only had 2 last year, so this will be 3. I guess I should just let the person shoot me, or they're shooting at you. It's, we have to work on the issues that create that conflict. And having said that, I don't think you've talked about the fact that the shooting deaths of police officers, the attack on police officers across the country, in terms of being shot at, shot and killed, is doing that. I don't see anybody talking about that, right? It's a mutual responsibility and a duty for us. Our training in terms of de-escalation, our training in terms of our tactics, has all been revamped. We've all been through it. We're going to continue to go through it. And I will tell you, we're going to try all we can to not take a life, but we're certainly not going to let somebody kill us or a member of this community because we're worried about what the public would think. We're going to base it based on the threat to the public at that moment when we pull the trigger, or to the officer, and that's it. But we're going to still do our very best. What else? Oh, te lo dije todo en inglés. He asked me in English. Okay, you're going to have to do subtitles. You messed that up. Te lo digo después en español.
What is the key factors that you identify as successful being understaffed?
Okay, hablo en español porque si me lo dices en español porque te voy a hablar en inglés de nuevo.
¿Cuál es el factor que tú consideras que ha sido como una clave en la reducción del crimen cuando ustedes están muy bajos en personal?
Bueno, the question in English is, what do you think is some of the reasons that you've seen crime go down despite the fact that you're understaffed? Y yo creo que para mí es que nuestros oficiales saben que lo apoyamos. Saben que si ellos hacen las cosas correctamente, no importa lo que piense el público, lo vamos a apoyar, lo vamos a defender. Y uno de esos ejemplos fue la desgracia del muchacho Jordell Richardson, que algunas de esas personas vieron aquí, de las protestas. Yo no estoy aquí para mantener un trabajo, yo estoy aquí para mantener la orden en la comunidad y la orden en este departamento. Cuando los oficiales hacen las cosas correctamente, lo vamos a apoyar. Yo creo que cuando ven ese ejemplo, dicen, bueno, me van a apoyar, así que vamos a trabajar, y están trabajando, y debemos tener muchas gracias y darles a ellos yo creo que para mí todo es por ellos, no por mí, por nuestros oficiales. And in English I said that I think that our cops are back to work because they know they're going to get supported. They know that we're going to stand with them. You know, again, Jordell Richardson that you brought up, I didn't bring it up. It's very tragic. There was a visceral reaction. It's a sad reaction. There was no, I mean, I teared up the first time I saw that innocent face. But we have to call balls and strikes. Leaders don't come to work to keep their jobs. They come to work to do their jobs. I think when the officers, know that no matter what the heat is, we're going to base our decisions on the facts, the evidence, and the law, and not on which way the wind's blowing. And that is a two-way street. I don't care what the union thinks about, because, let's face it, if you listen to the union rep, no officer has ever done anything wrong, right? I don't care what they think. I don't care what the union thinks. I don't care what. We are going to call balls and strikes. Because when you start trying to do this, everybody knows a windsock when they see it. And windsock is not leadership. So you look like you're ready. You haven't said anything. Oh, okay. Well, you're very polite then. Well, I'll wait till you ask. Well, I need water. Just a few more, guys, because I've got other things to do today.
Por aquí José Frank de Telemundo.
Más alto, porque no te oigo bien.
Por aquí José Frank Ogando de Telemundo. Veo que en las estadísticas de crímenes violentos, asalto agravado es el número mayor. ¿Qué está haciendo la policía para en este 2024 atajar este tipo de crímenes?
Bueno, acuérdate que los asaltos agravados han bajado por casi 10%, que fueron de 2.246 el año pasado, del 22 al 2033. Tenemos que seguir llevando a cuenta al delincuente, tenemos que seguir con nuestros agentes que están vestidos de paisanos en las calles buscando a estos delincuentes y llevándolo a cuenta. Este año vamos a tener un sistema de inteligencia artificial con todas las cámaras que están en el público. Vamos a poder saber lo que está pasando inmediatamente y caerle atrás al delincuente. Va a ser tremendo. Ya casi está al punto. So he's talking about aggravated assaults, or, there's still a couple of thousand. One of the things that's coming out sometime, hopefully here in the next month or two, is finally our FUSIS, which you all know is artificial intelligence system that can take the public-facing cameras, right? And when we need to, and when a crime occurs, we can actually do a virtual pursuit and actually catch the bad guy. That is going to be coming out. So finally, thank goodness, we'll be able to get it out here. And again, I thank our mayor and council that I believe it was only one no vote against it, and it was almost a unanimous support, because you have to have a criminal nexus, right? We're not just going to be going out there to look for you to see where you go to your barber, right? Let's go find him, let's see where he's at. No, we're going to have a criminal nexus and a legitimate reason, because everybody thinks that the government's big brother, and I think you all know that the private sector's big brother. We're subject to auditing, we're subject to public records requests, we're subject to oversight, and so the great thing about this system is it has a really good auditing feature where we'll know if anyone in our department is trying to misuse the program. Yes, sir.
So at the very end of last year, the last of the trials for the first responders to the Elijah McClain incident took place. And I'm wondering what the feeling is going into the new year in the department at this point. Does it feel like turning a page, or are officers more concerned about the legal consequences of doing their job, or what's the?
Look, I think that for 4 years, right, it's been about 4 years since the tragic death of that young man, that it's been a black cloud that's been, it's just been hanging over our department, right? It's just a chapter that hasn't closed. And I will argue that the chapter is not completely closed, because we can never do anything to bring that young man back. And I think that if everyone could go back to that night, I can tell you today, the way that we have now trained our department, the way that we have provided legal training, tactical training our department, we probably, the very high probability that same exact fact pattern would have ended in a much different set of circumstances. We don't want our officers to go hands-on so quickly unless there's an absolute threat to them. Time's always on whose side. If it's on your side, you need to use it. And so I will say that this is an opportunity to move forward as a department, as a community. And I can just say to Mrs. McClain that there's, again, nothing, I wasn't here when it happened, nothing will ever stop that pain of only a mother can feel. But I believe that lives will be saved because of the changes that his death brought to our department in terms of the way we do business. And I just hope she knows that. So, one more question?
How would you handle Officer Woodyard coming back if he comes back?
Well, Officer Woodyard is still off on leave, on his personal leave. We still don't know if he's coming back. And so, I think it's right now, it's moot until he decides to come back, if he comes back. But I think I've said before, he's not going to be forward-facing. It would be a disservice to the community, be a disservice to him, and be a disservice to our men and women. I don't think it would be safe for him to be out on the streets. So, but again, it's, to me, we don't even know if he's coming back.
Okay, I've got 3 questions.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sit back.
You got you.
So, if you guys were to encounter that same type of situation again when you encountered Elijah McClain,
Yeah.
what would you have done? What would you do differently?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot more talking when you're talking to people. It's a consensual contact, right? And we're going to discuss it. We're going to talk to him. And then if we don't have legal cause to detain, we are training our people, get back in the car and do one of 2 things: leave, or just watch the person from a distance. It's not that complicated. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know as individuals, as organizations. We only see what's in front of us and right around us. And I just believe that the way that we're training, there's no malice involved in terms of the department, but I think that, again, as a result of that tragedy, we've seen it. We have seen our people in similar circumstances make very different decisions. And guess what? It's worked out for the community, it's worked out for our officers. That's two, right?
That was one.
Well, that was a two-parter, wasn't it?
Do you believe in excited delirium?
I think solid delirium has been across the country it is a term that has been wiped out from us. We're not going to talk about excited delirium. We're not interested. We're not doctors. What we need to do is describe the symptoms. What are the objective or symptoms of the physical symptoms you see with somebody? Yeah, I've got somebody, and it's gone from our policy. Having said that, it's still referred to in the Post. Colorado Post, so they need to update their own stuff. You might want to call them. But we got rid of it by policy.
All right, are you gonna be interim chief forever, or is there?
You know what? Look, it's, we're all interim. You know, we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, my agreement with this city is to give them their all each and every day. A lot of people worry about that stuff. I don't care about that. I love policing, I love police officers, and I love public service. It's in my DNA. It's, you know, when you say that you're an American, you're Cuban by birth, but American by the grace of God, this is what I like to do. I put the private sector, when this man here, and Dan Oates, more so him, talked to me about coming here, because this department deserves the very best leadership. And I'm going to tell you right now, the failure of this department weren't the men and women that contacted Elijah McClain. The biggest failure was the leadership of this department. And we had leaders in this department that were not interested in the success of their men and women. They weren't interested, in my opinion, in the success of our relation with the community. They are just people that were just interested in whatever interests them. And I can tell you without a doubt, I have complete 110% confidence in the leadership team we put together. These men and women, our deputy chief, deeply care about our officers. They're so deeply about our officers and the community they serve. We failed Elijah McClain as a department. We failed Mrs. McClain as a department. We failed our community as a department, but we also failed the officers that encountered them that night. And we needed to do better, and thank God that as a result of that tragedy, our men and women are doing phenomenal work. And this upcoming year, you're going to see us putting out a lot of information. All right, y'all, thank you very much. Thank you. I think they failed because of the attitude, the mindset that you ask somebody to do something, you tell somebody to do something, you make somebody do something. And if you look at that approach to Elijah McClain, we went from asking to telling to making very quickly, and we should not be going hands-on making somebody do something unless there's an immediate threat. I mean, it's tragic. But our mindset should be, you ask, you explain, you tell, and if all of a sudden you got a reason that you need to go hands-on because there's a threat to you or someone else, then you go hands-on, right? It's sad. But you know, again, I believe out of that tragedy, we have a department, and by the way, our men and women, they have taken to the training. Nobody likes change. And I mean, our heads are spinning from change, right, guys, ladies? But as much change has gone on in this department in the last couple of years, having led a lot of different departments, I'm so proud of our organization and of our officers, because I want this community, I want to leave you this last thought. Policing is arguably, in the summer of protests, and I think since that time, probably the toughest it's been across this country. It's a tough, tough job. A lot of people have quit. Now, that's a big conversation here. Who's quitting and staying? But the one thing I know is that the men and women that have remained on this department, that have not listened to the handful of so-called leaders in our department that are undermining our efforts to reform this department, and in many instances manipulating one particular elected official to try to block reform, which is contrary to the best interests of the men and women we lead. That's not happening now. We've got a great team, and we need to support the men and women that are wearing these stars and these bars And we need to support and thank those officers that have stayed. They didn't pick up their marbles. They didn't go run somewhere. They didn't go quit. Please take time to thank the men and women that wear this patch. No department in Colorado has been scrutinized and maligned over and over again. If the Sentinel writes one more story that's almost repackaged, I mean, come on. Let's start talking about the things they're doing. They deserve support. And when they screw up as an individual, we're going to hold them accountable. And I don't care what the union thinks. She doesn't care what the union thinks. We're not here to work for the union. We're not here to work for anybody but the public and our men and women. All right, guys. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you all.